Baruch Shechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. It's 50 years since the reunification of the city of Yerushalayim. What an incredible miracle, what an incredible achievement. Those of us who are old enough remember what it was like then. We remember the excitement, we remember the miracle, we remember the euphoria. We also remember what preceded it. It was a time of tremendous worry and a time of tremendous tension. I was a Talmud in the Yeshiva of Philadelphia. I was in high school, and we said Tehillim, and we said Tehillim, and we said Tehillim. There were cities in Israel that were digging graves. They were worried that thousands of people would be killed. And then all of a sudden, Yeshuas Hashem Keheref Ayin, the whole thing turned around. And the greatness was not just that, thank God we were saved. It never occurred to anybody. Nobody ever imagined that what would happen with regard to the city of Yerushalayim, to the holy places throughout Eretz Yisrael, that would be under Jewish control was inconceivable, incomprehensible, and nothing that we ever imagined. And now we celebrate 50 years later. There were two halachic issues that were raised at that time that I would like to briefly address. And I want to begin with the first one in the tshuva of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. If you look at the sheets, it's the first entry on the first page. The date is significant. Gimel Sivan Tavshin Chav Zayin. Gimel Sivan Tavshin Chav Zayin is June 11th, 1967. It is minutes after the end of the Six-Day War. These days, God gave us tremendous miracles, wondrous, Baruch Hashem, Gover Aleinu Chazdo, the Chesed of the Rabbon Shalom, Vero Kolaf Seyoretz, Es Yeshua Elokeinu. The whole world recognized the salvation and the greatness of God. Ki lo yitosh Hashem es amo. That's what we were worried about. We were worried about Chas v'Sholom, God would forsake us, and that didn't happen. And not only did that not happen, v'yotzonu me'afela la'ora, miyagon l'simcha, Baruch Hashem. Uberov rachma v'chasodav zachinu gam l'shichuro shel hakotel ha'ma'aravi. It's not just that the Jewish people was spared unspeakable challenges and pain, but Baruch Hashem, we were zoche for the Kotel, and therefore now the question is, can we walk on Har HaBayis? That's the question that Rabbi Ovadia addresses. Locheno madati ve'esponen emuter lihikones bizman hazeh limekom hamikdash. The second question that he addressed also, bottom of the first page, is the question about changing the text of Nachem. In 1967, it was a serious issue. If you look at the top of the second page, I have the traditional text of the Nachem that we recite on Tisha B'Av. We talk about Avei Tzion, Avei Yerushalayim, Avei Chareva, Bezuya, Shomema, that the city is destroyed, the city is scorned, the city is desolate, and we continue to say that there's nobody in it. And now in 67, what are you talking about? How could you say this? It's not true. I remember I had the schus to be in Yerushalayim 10 days after the end of the Six-Day War. It was exciting. It was packed. And I remember the first Tisha B'Av, and we walked around the Choma of the old city, and we had to pinch ourselves. Hundreds of thousands of people. That it's Tisha B'Av. It was mamish, a Yom Tiv, streaming people. And how are you saying? Chareva, Shemema, Bezuya, Azay Frek Rabbi Ovadia. Maybe it's time to change the text. So these two issues came up, two halachic issues, both reflective of the new reality that, thank God, we merited to be able to experience. With regard to the second question, there are a number of perspectives. So there's one school of thought that says, Yataka right, we should change the text. The smallest change was by Reb Chaim David HaLevi and Tshuva Nasei L'cha Rav, the Sephardi chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, that he added one word, that's all, he added one word, and that made all the difference. Na to'ir ha'avela chareva bezuya, but ha'ir shehoisa avela chareva bezuya. He added one word, and this way it's okay, it's not any longer, it's a reflection of the past. Rav Shlomo Goren, who was then the chief rabbi of Tzahal, went much, much further, and actually a significant revision of the text itself. We have here a letter that he wrote, the bottom of page 2, in July of 1968, a year later, and he tells us in the second paragraph that already last year, Kvar ishtaked harinu l'chol batei knesset b'tzahal, that we have to change the text. We only say the beginning of the Nachem, and we say the end of the Nachem, and in the next paragraph, here's what we should say. Nachem Hashem Elokeinu esaveli Tzion ve'esaveli Yerushalayim. Libi, libi al chalaleihem. Me'ai al chalaleihem. Ki ato be'eshi tzato. And the whole chareva b'zuyish are gone. It's gone because it's not relevant, because it's not reflecting the situation. On page 3, I found in my folders from many years ago a typed text of a Nachem, a nusach of the Nachem that was put together by Rav Goren. It's not as extreme as the one that we have in this letter from 1968, but it gives you a sense that the recapturing of Yerushalayim, the reunification of Yerushalayim, is not just a political matter, but it has significant halachic significance and great halachic importance. But what I want to get to, and what I want to focus on, is the position of Rabbi Soloveitchik in this matter. There were those who were opposed to change. So, for example, Rabbi Ovadia, in the tshuva that I started showing you on the first page, Rabbi Ovadia said you can't change. First of all, he says, it's a nusach of a tefillah that was put together by the Anshe Knesset HaGedola. How can you change? Everything is inhered with a great deal of significance and mystical significance. So you can't just tamper with a nusach of a tefillah that was put together by the Anshe Knesset HaGedola. Second of all, today we face serious issues, even in the old city. There are churches whose leaders were responsible for shedding of Jewish blood, so it's not like everything is fine. In the city of Yerushalayim, there are many Jews who are not spiritually in a high madrega, so it's not like the situation is over and it's like everything is perfect and therefore we have a right to change. We have to stick with the text. But the position of Rav Soloveitchik is, I think, very significant and speaks to the issue that I was asked to address. The issue that I was asked to address is as follows, and I'm quoting. While we can understand that Tefillah and Talmud Torah have a profound role in our religious development and connection to God, why does a city have that role as well? In other words, why is Yerushalayim important to us from a religious perspective and not simply a political one? To get a sense of the religious significance of Yerushalayim, let's take a look at this passage of Rabbi Soloveitchik. He addresses the question, top of page 4. How can we say what we say in Nachem? It can't be. The Rav was absolutely unalterably opposed to any changes. Number one, because he was generally very conservative when it came to change davening. You don't change a nusach hatfilah. It's in the books. That's what it is. We have to figure out how to make it meaningful, but we don't tamper with the text. And second of all, va'odam, our second line, second paragraph, shekozman she'hamikdash charav, af she'Yerushalayim benuyo b'yad Yisrael, mikol makom nachsheves Yerushalayim gam le'ir chareva. She'arei lo Rambam, kedushas Yerushalayim, he kedushas mikdash. It looks like Yerushalayim is fine. It looks like Yerushalayim is no longer destroyed. It looks like there are a lot of people walking in the streets. But halachically, Yerushalayim has a status of mikdash, lefi shitas Rambam. And if Yerushalayim has a status of mikdash, that means that halachically it is destroyed. We look through the lens of halacha to determine liturgical text. We do not look through the lens of reality. It's a fascinating statement of Rabbi Soloveitchik. It's the halachic status that determines what we say. And halachically, it's a chafza of churban, because Yerushalayim is Beis HaMikdash, and if Beis HaMikdash is charev, halachically Yerushalayim is charev. I bring you at the bottom of page 4, all through page 5, there are 4 or 5 different Perish HaMishnayos of the Rambam, where the Mishnah differentiates on page 5 between Mikdash and Medina. So with regard to certain halachas, Mikdash, they took the Arba Minim for 7 days. Medina, they took the Arba Minim for 1 day. B'mikdash, they were token on Rosh Hashanah Shechaliyas b'Shabbos. B'Medina, they were not. So we have two extremes. We have Mikdash, we have Beis HaMikdash, and then we have country. But there's a middle category. And the middle category is Yerushalayim. What's the status? Machlekes Rashi and the Rambam. According to Rashi, Yerushalayim has the status of Medina. According to the Rambam, Yerushalayim has the status of Mikdash. One parish of Mishnayos after the other. So Rabbi Soloveitchik says if it has the status of Mikdash, so then halachically it's Tchareva. Halachically it's destroyed. So you're asking me, why is Yerushalayim a city significant to me? Yerushalayim, a city, is significant to me because it's Mikdash, because it has a Chalei Shein Kedushas Beis HaMikdash. There's nothing more religious, there's nothing more spiritual, there's nothing more sensual, there's nothing more meaningful than the role of a Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is Kulei Kedusha. And now Yerushalayim is an extension, has the same status as Mikdash. It's not a political, it's not a city, it's not a capital. It's a religious place with deep, intense, profound religious significance. Page 6, Rav Soloveitchik L'Shitaso. There's a machlekes about doing kriya. Also an interesting halacha question that has come up. Turn to page 6. Rav Moshe has the tshuva in the Igros Moshe. Chiyuv kriya al re'iyas makom ha'mikdash bizmanenu. That's the question. Look at Sivkatan Aleph, right towards the top. This tshuva was written in 1981. Kriya al re'iyas arei Yehuda. Yerushalayim umakom ha'mikdash bizmanenu. So again, we have now three categories. We have Arei Yehuda. So when you're coming to Yerushalayim, you're in the Arei Yehuda, and it's the road starts to curve, and you're curving, and you're going up, and you're going down, and you're going up. Arei Yehuda. So there's a halach in the books of doing kriya for Arei Yehuda b'churbanan, and then we have Yerushalayim, and then we have Mikdash. And what Ramesha does is he divides it up. He says Arei Yehuda today require a kriya only halachically in a reality where it's not under Shilton Yisrael. If it's not under Shilton Yisrael, if other entities own it, so then it's Mechuyev Kriya. Quotes from Magen Avram. There are other Makoros here in the Tshuva. But if it's Tachas Shilton Yisrael, if you take a look here at the bottom, Shimkein Ata, 2/3 of the way down at the beginning of the line, Shebechazdei Hashem Yisbarach, right side, page 6, Ein Moshlin Ha'umos al Arei Yehuda v'al Yerushalayim, V'hem gam miyushavim, Hutam Gadol Shelo Lekroa. If the reason for Kriya is because somebody else owns it, so now we own it, so we shouldn't do Kriya. The other extreme is the Beis HaMikdash. Of course we should do Kriya. Of course we should do Kriya. What about the middle ground? What about Yerushalayim? Rav Moshe Paskins, no Kriya. He continues and he says, V'koshkein Ata, towards the bottom, there is no halacha of Kriya for the city of Yerushalayim because Baruch Hashem, we own it. If we own it, that's the criteria. We own it, no Kriya. The Mikdash is in a separate category. The Beis HaMikdash is Mamish Chorev. Look what's on it. Look what's on the Arabayas. Of course we have to do Kriya. But Yerushalayim, there's no Kriya. Comes again Rabbi Soloveitchik, Rav Schacter in his Bikvei Atzon, on the left of page 6 and on page 7, quotes this issue. The question is, what's the halacha of Kriya? So he says, when it comes to Arei Yehuda, there is no Kriya today because we own it. When it comes to the Makom HaMikdash, there is Kriya because it's Chorev. When it comes to Yerushalayim, he quotes from his Rebbe. His Rebbe says, turn to the top right of page 7, Ochen shamati bazeh mikvod mori v'Rabbi Hagon Rabbi Yitzchak Dov Soloveitchik Zal she'eno nira keinu tfei nira. He disagrees. Shechovas hakriya al Yerushalayim he betoras avelus ala mikdash bechorbono. Da'af Yerushalayim yesh bo kedushas mikdash. So the same rationale that Rabbi Soloveitchik used to say, don't you dare change the text of Nachem because Yerushalayim is halachically bechorbanah because it is a halacha of mikdash, is going to apply also to the issue of kriya. That you have to do kriya for Yerushalayim, keneged Rav Moshe. That you have to, it's not a din and who owns it. It's a din, what is the halachic status? The halachic status is that of mikdash, and therefore you have to do kriya. So we see the profound religious and spiritual significance, even if you want to disagree, even if you want to Paskin like Rashi that Yerushalayim has a lach of Medina, but we're familiar with, there's a whole series of Mishnayos and Maseches Kelim at the beginning of Maseches Kelim, Eser Kedushos, and the Mishnah there talks about the phrases Lefnim and Achoma, that there is a separate status. There are 10 levels of sanctity, Eser Kedushos, and it starts from all the way at the beginning and it concludes with the Kodesh Kodashim, but along the way of the 10, there is something significant about Lefnim and Achoma. There's something significant, even Lefishitas Rashi. We're talking about Kedusha here. We're talking about holiness. We're talking about spirituality. We're talking about meaning. We're talking about connection. We're talking about the Rabbanu Shalom. This is not just a city. This is not Albuquerque. This is not a city that happens to be a capital. This is not the Albany. This is a mamish, a makom kadosh. Even Lefishitas Rashi, who tries to identify Yerushalayim with Medina. On page 8, there's a beautiful parak in Tehillim. Shir Malas LeDavid Kuf Chav Bei Samachti Ba'omrim Li Beis Hashem Nelech Omdos Hayu Raglenu B'Sharayach Yerushalayim. The word Yerushalayim appears in our Tanakh 680 something times. Yerushalayim is all over the place in our Tanakh. And here, Samachti Ba'omrim Li Zog David HaMelech Shir Malas LeDavid. I'm so thrilled. Beis Hashem Nelech will go up to the house of Hashem. Omdos hayu raglenu, our feet was standing there. B'sharayach Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim abnuya k'ir shechubra lo yachtov. Translation: a city that is united together. That's Zvei Dinim. In this parak Tehillim that underscore the centrality and the power of Yerushalayim. Number one, Beis Hashem Nelech. It's a house of God. What makes it a house of God? Because God is present in that house. Famous Rambam in Hilchos Beis HaBechira in the bottom half of page 8, that the Rambam differentiates between Kedushas Mikdash and Yerushalayim is different from Kedushas Shar Eretz Yisrael, with regard to the question of Kitcha Rishayna, Kitcha L'Shaita, V'lo Kitcha L'Asad Lavo, V'Kitcha L'Asad Lavo is the sanctity that inheres in the land, an eternal sanctity, or is it a contingent sanctity, depending upon what the historical reality is. And the Rambam says when it comes to the Kedusha of Yerushalayim and Mikdash, Halacha Tezayin Perek Vav Hilchos Beis HaBechira, bottom of page 8, V'lama ani omer b'Mikdash v'Yerushalayim Kedusha Rishona Kitcha La'asid Lavo, that it does not give up its sanctity no matter what. Even after it is destroyed, it continues to retain its sanctity. And with regard, by contrast, to Kedusha Shar Eretz Yisrael Lo Kitcha La'asid Lavo, fascinating, extremely important formulation of the Rambam. Lefisha Kedushas HaMikdash v'Yerushalayim mipnei hashchina u'shchina eino betela. The Shechina is in Yerushalayim. You notice he puts Yerushalayim and Mikdash in the same category, L'shitasa. In Yerushalayim, it continues to retain its sanctity because it's the Shechina that makes it sanctified, and the Shechina isn't going anywhere. There may have been a churban, but the Shechina remains. Famous pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Hine ze omed acher kaslenu, Mashkiach min achalonos, meitzitz min acharakim, zog the Medrash Rabbin, Shir Hashirim, me olam lo zaza shchina me'al kosel ha'ma'aravi. What does it mean? Hine ze omed acher kaslenu. What's the kosel? The kosel is our kosel. Me olam lo zaza shchina. The shchina is there. So number one, Yerushalayim is centrally significant spiritually, not politically, spiritually, because it is the place that is inhered with the presence of the Shechina, and the Shechina doesn't go anywhere. And then the second formulation in this parak in Tehillim, Ki'ir shechubra lo yachtov. It's a very odd formulation. What is chubra lo yachtov? So the translation is it's a city that is united. What does it mean it's a city that is united? So the Yerushalmi in Bava Kama at the top of page 9 interprets this to mean Yerushalayim habenuya, Ir shemechaberes Yisrael ze lo ze. Ir shemechaberes Yisrael ze lo ze. It is a city that brings Jews together. It's a city that unites the Jewish people. The Jewish people is united around this city, the value of this city, the importance of this city, the significance of this city. So number one, it has a divine dimension. It's a Beis Hashem. It's the Shechina. The Shechina never left. The Shechina is there. It is the repository of God's presence. And number two, there's also not just the Ben Adam Lamakom, focus. But Amen Adam Lachavera, all Jews together, Yerushalmi in Bava Kama, Perek Zayin, top of page 9, Ir Shemechaberes Yisrael Zeh Lo Zeh. Yerushalayim also has universal significance. Yerushalayim is important from our perspective, not only for us, but according to one pshat of Rashi, based on a medrash at the beginning of Bereshis in the middle of page 9, HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually took the dust from which he created Adam Rishon from the Har HaBayis. One opinion is that when the pasuk says, "Vayitzer Hashem Elokim es ha'adam afar min ha'adama," God created Adam with dust from the earth. What's the earth? Where is the earth that God went to scoop up a shtickle of dust from which to fashion Adam Rishon? First pshat in Rashi, Tzavar afaro mikolo Adama. Me'ar baruchos, from the entire earth. He went all over. Second pshat in Rashi, Davar acher notal afaro, mimakom shenemar bo mizbach adama taseli. When it says ha adama with the heya yidiyah, the adama, it's talking about yena adama that was a mizbeach, and that mizbeach is going to be on Har HaBayis, and Har HaBayis is in Yerushalayim. So the reason why Yerushalayim is significant is because it is from this place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually physically drew the material from which he created Adam Rishon, the very first human being. So there is here also a universal significance. The Targum Yonasim Ben Uziel at the bottom of page 9, Udevar Afara, Me Asar Beis Makdasha, U Me Arbas Ruchei Alma. The Targum has both pshatim in Rashi, but the first one that he mentioned is from the place of the Beis HaMikdash. The bottom of page 10 and page 11 also references to the universal, transcendental significance of the city of Yerushalayim. The Gemara says in Maseches Yuma on a pasuk in Tehillim, Perek Nun, Mitzion Michlal Yofi Elokim Hofia Mimenu Muchlal Yofio Shel Olam. The beauty of the entire world comes from Yerushalayim. You tell me this is political? You tell me this is a national issue? This is a country issue? This is a capital city issue? This is so far beyond and so far transcending. I want to conclude with a thought that is, I'm sure, on a lot of our minds as we celebrate Shechianu v'Kiyumanu v'Giyanu 50 years. So I remember what it was like 50 years ago. I mamish believed without a shred of a doubt that I was hearing the footsteps of Mashiach. The incredible intensity of the presence of the Ribono Shel Olam was so enormous. The miracle was so incomprehensibly huge that walking in the old city, when I got there was rubble in front of the kotel. They had just bulldozed the houses, the little hausalach that were in front of the kotel. It's a little narrow area in front of the kotel. I mamish felt it, and it didn't take long for that feeling to dissipate. And now it's 50 years later, Baruch Hashem, Shechianu v'Kiyumanu. But Nebuch, we're facing serious issues, and we're facing serious challenges. And the city of Yerushalayim continues to be a focal point of physical hurt and mayhem and suffering, certainly political. It's a bouncing punching bag. It isn't what we expected it to be and what we thought it would be. And how do we maintain our optimism and our koiches and our thoughts and our excitement 50 years later? Top of page 12 is an interesting piece of evidence about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, right after the Six-Day War, felt that people should not, on Erev Pesach, walk within 15 mil of the city of Yerushalayim, because if you walk within 15 mil of the city of Yerushalayim, there's a whole issue about being makriv v'korban Pesach. So those people who were within a certain dimension and level, geographic connection to the city, potentially were mechuyev to bring a korban Pesach. So right after the Six-Day War, the possibility of bringing a korban Pesach was like so real that he told everybody, you shouldn't go within 15 mil because you're going to enter yourself into a suffix. And then in 1975, next paragraph, The Rebbe said, you know what, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You can go within 50 mil, it's not a problem. You know why you can go within 50 mil? Korban Pesach isn't happening. It's not happening. 1975, 1967. Yom Kippur War, 1973. What I expected, what I hoped for, I don't know. It's not happening. There isn't any need anymore to be nizhar for this. Ein ato hayacholas v'afsherius l'shanos v'livnos kefi adorish la'akrovas korban Pesach. So I don't have to worry about it. Something profoundly changed. And it didn't take long. A few years later, from 67 to 75, the huge hopes of 67, mamish, in 2 minutes there's going to be a korban Pesach. No, go, don't worry about it. It's not happening. Next source at the bottom of the page, Rav Goren, who was Eish Lahava, a kanoi to change the text. Take out the middle, the whole middle, take it out, just keep the first and the last, and you're good to go. Rav Goren said, he was asked, this is a letter he wrote in 1978. I changed my mind. I changed my mind. And he writes with such drama and with such passion, and I would add with such profound pain. Left column at the bottom of page 12. Lifnei Tzom Tisha B'Av, 4 lines from the top, Shnas Tovshin Chav Zayin. Right before Tisha B'Av, right after the 6-Day War in 1967, I published a whole nusach that you have to say and you have to take away Bzuya and Shemeba, because Mishum Shechashafti, at the end of the first paragraph, She'espa Ze Mishum Davar Shkarim Lo Yikon Lenegadena. You can't say falsehood. You can't lie. How can you lie? You can't lie. So I had to change the text, blow up the whole text. And when I went to daven mincha at the Kaisel on Tisha B'Av, and I davened for the Yamid, and I said, my Nachem. In front of the Kaisel, I said, my Nachem. How can I say the other traditional Nachem? Ulam, next to the last paragraph, Odeh v'lo evosh. Ki la'achar melchemes Yom HaKippurim. K'shecholo hit dar derut musarit moralit le'umit. There's a decline. After the Yom Kippur War, it was awful. After the Yom Kippur War, there's a degeneration, there's ethical and moral and national. Eineni roeh at the end of the paragraph, Siba l'shanot dfusim kayamim, kol od shemurgeshet nesiga mikol hameshorim, ve'atid luta ba'arafel. You know what? Let's resurrect the old text. Can't say the new text. What I felt then, I don't feel anymore. After the Yom Kippur War, I don't feel it anymore. So now it's 50 years later. It's 50 years later. And I'm not feeling what I felt in 1967. So how is it possible for us to really muster an incredible amount of joy and happiness and excitement? Mitzad echad, every reason. Mitzad sheni, it's difficult. It isn't what it was supposed to be. So here I turn to Rav Amital Zatzal, page 13. Rav Amital gave a sicha in Yeshivat Har Etzion in 2000. And he raised the following question. If you look at the top of page 13, the pasuk in Yirmiyah, in Perek Lamed Gimel, talks about pasuk Yud, Ko Amar Hashem, Od Yishama, B'makom Hazeh Asher Atem Omrim Charevhu Me'ein Adam Me'ein Behema. There will once again be heard in this place about which you say and about which you are prepared to assert that it's nothing, it's destroyed, there are no people, there are no animals. In the cities of Yehuda, Ba'arei Yehuda, B'chutzot Yerushalayim, Hanishamot, they're desolate, they're destroyed. Nochamol, without man, without inhabitants, without animals. Kol sason ve'kol simcha, kol chason ve'kol kala. Kol omrim, hodu es Hashem tzvakos, ki tov Hashem, ki liolam chazdo. There will yet be a time when in these streets, there will be Od Yishama, in a place that is mamish, charev, garnished, nobody, nothing, desolate. They're gonna be kol sason, kol simcha, and they're gonna be talking about meviim, toida, beis Hashem. We're gonna bring karbonos once again. Ki oshev Hashem eshvus haaretz kavarishon. We're all gonna come back, and all the exiles are gonna return. It's gonna be okay, says Yirmiyahu HaNavi. Frekt Rav Amital. We're familiar with this phrase. We say this phrase all the time. Od Yishama, B'arei Yehuda, v'chutzos Yerushalayim, kol sasam. Right. We went to a wedding last night. We went to a wedding 5 days ago. Look at the bottom of page 13, the last of the Sheva Brachas. Why did the Anshe Knesset Agdola change the text of Yirmiyah? Why did they change? They left out, first of all, left out all the horrific, all the terrible. If you go and you hold one finger on the nusach of the Sheva Brachas and one finger on the place of the original in the Yirmiyah, we skipped, we skipped whole chunks. And we don't finish. We stop in the middle. He said something so profound that I find personally really extremely meaningful. You read the text from Yirmiyah and you get depressed because there are two extremes. One is me'ein adam, me'ein yoshev, me'ein behema. It's totally desolate. Charafu. And then what's going to make it better? What is the expression in Yirmiyah that's better? What's better is Meviyim Taida. We're all going to come together. Asher Hashem Eshivos Saharetz Kavari Shona. You get the sense that the only way we could counteract the feeling of desolation is when the Beis HaMikdash is rebuilt and we're bringing karbanos and we're all in the land of Israel. Comes again the Anshe Knesset Agdola and they teach us an important lesson. You don't have to wait until you're bringing karbanos and all of Klal Yisrael is gathered together in the city of Yerushalayim. There is a reason for joy. There is a significant, profound value in sensing the simcha, even in the middle of the story. It's no longer me'ein yoshev, it's no longer me'ein adam, it's no longer charev in a physical sense. Baruch Hashem, shechiyanu v'kiyamanu. And we have a right to feel. Od yishama ba'arei Yehuda b'chutzos Yerushalayim kol sasan kol simcha kol chasan v'chol chala, even though the story has not yet concluded. The fact that we are where we are, the fact that Yerushalayim is where Yerushalayim is, the fact that Baruch Hashem shechiyanu v'kiyamanu, to witness this kind of a vibrant city with so much life and with so much Torah, right now, before Mevi'im Toida Beis Hashem. You don't have to wait till Mevi'im Toida Beis Hashem. Right now, we have every reason to be optimistic and to be hopeful and to be full of joy. If you look at the Gemara quotes this pasuk at the top of page 14. The Gemara quotes a famous Gemara at the beginning of Brachos. It's on Daf Vav Amid Beis in Brachos. I noticed that I forgot to write that in, so it's in Brachos Daf Vav Amid Beis. Kol anena, second line, misudas chasam ve'eno mesamcha over b'chamisha kolos. You have the English translation here at the bottom. If you benefit from the banquet of a chasan and a kala and you're not being misameach them, shene'amar, kol sasan, kol simcha, kol chasan, kol kala, kol omer, mhodu es Hashem tzvakos. End of the pasuk. What do you mean? It's not the end of the pasuk. You're in the middle of a pasuk. Your mom's in the middle of a pasuk. You chopped off the second half. The answer is to teach us, says Rav Amital, exactly this point. That there's kol chasan and kol simcha, od yishama ba'arei Yehuda, u'b'chutzos Yerushalayim. There will be joy. There will be meaningful joy and authentic joy, even before the end of that pasuk. And that's where we find ourselves right now. And so we wonder, why is Yerushalayim so central and so significant to us? Yerushalayim is so central and so significant to us because it is the heartbeat of the Jewish people, because it either is Lefishitas Rambam a connection to or an expansion of Mikdash, or Lefishitas Rashi, we still have the Mishnayos about Eser Kedushos. We're talking about holiness. We're talking about a city that is God's city, it's Beis Hashem. We're talking about a city that brings Jews together. It has profound interpersonal human value and significance. We're talking about a city that's a source of kapara. We're talking about a city that's an Ir Shalem, that's a city of peace. We're talking about a city that we have been mispalel for years and years and years, and a city that we hope will, Emirza Hashem, reverberate with the kind of ecstasy that I remember feeling. I was listening to the radio. We were not allowed to have radios in the Yeshiva of Philadelphia, but somehow guys slipped in radios when it came to the Six-Day War. And I mamish remember hearing HaKotel Biadenu, Har-Habayit Biadenu. I remember on the radio, I listened to Rabbi Gorin blowing the shofar at the Kaisel, and I have a recollection that there was a correspondent by the name of Jay Bashinsky who was reporting on WINS News. This is Jay Bashinsky from Jerusalem, and he held his microphone next to the Kaisel, and this is what I heard. We should be zeicha to be able to come back to that euphoria, to be able to come back to that Taku v'nei Yerushalayim HaKodesh b'mhera b'yameinu. We should be zeicha because it's so central to us, because it's so religiously central to us. V'Yerushalayim yircha b'racham im toshuv v'sishkom b'socha kasher dibartu v'nei osa b'kar b'yameinu binyan ola v'chisei David avdacha mehera l'socha tochi.